Maybe you're in this room tonight, and it's not a physical lostness. It's not a spiritual lostness. But maybe you're in here today, and maybe you're feeling, the best way I can say it is emotionally lost. You just have these different feelings and emotions, and you don't know how to handle them. And you're not really sure what to do with them. And so you just feel like you can't figure anything out, and maybe you've had bad thoughts, or you felt like, hey, I don't know what to do. I don't understand this. Whatever that different feeling may be for you. I don't know where every single one of you is at tonight, but I have a feeling that every single one of you has experienced what I was feeling that day at the swap meet. Whether if it was physical, spiritual, or emotional. And tonight, what we want to do is, we want to talk through a story from the Bible. And I think it's a good story for us to talk to. And it's about a sheep that gets lost. And the more I've read the story, I go, it's just a sheep. Jesus, who cares? But Jesus answers, I care, Neil. Just like that day you were lost, Neil, I care. I was the one who came in. I want to come in and find you like your dad found you. If you have a Bible tonight, if you grab one from the aisle, open to Luke 15. If you didn't, it's on your note sheet, so don't worry about that. We just want to take some time, and I want to go over this passage with you guys as we talk about this topic, reach. I'm going to start in Luke 15, verses 1 and 2. It says, now the tax collectors and sinners were all gathering around to hear him. But the Pharisees and the teachers of the law muttered, this man welcomes sinners and eats with them. Let me stop there, you guys. I think it's so interesting that it says this man welcomes sinners and eats with them. The first point I want you to write down on your outline tonight is that Jesus spent time with sinners. First point on your outline says Jesus spent time with sinners. I think it's up on the screen. I think that's important. I think that's important for me to remember. I think that's important for you to remember. I don't know about you, but I have the impression, at least this was my impression about God before I started going to church, is that God only wants these good people. Like I used to tell people, and maybe you've heard this before, I can't go to church, that building will burn down if I go in there. Maybe you've heard that. But the funny thing is, if you read that verse again, it says that Jesus was hanging out with sinners. So we start this passage out, and we see that Jesus is talking to people who are spiritually lost. But then another dynamic comes in, because these men who are called the Pharisees, you and I we would call them religious leaders. They kind of come in and they start mumbling about it. They start chatting amongst themselves. Who's that guy Jesus think he is? If he's God, he would know what those people are doing. Well, I mean, why is he hanging out with them? What's he doing? What's he sitting with them for? Why is he acting that way? I want you to hear what Jesus communicates to those guys. Because what Jesus says to those people that the Bible even tells us were tax collectors and sinners is something that I need to hear. Next little passage on your outline is Luke 15, 3-6. It says, then Jesus told them this parable. Jesus spoke in parables. It's just a way of saying a story. Suppose one of you has 100 sheep and loses one of them. Does he not leave the 99 in the open country and go after the lost sheep until he finds it? And when he finds it, he joyfully puts it on his shoulders and goes home. Then he calls his friends and neighbors together and says, rejoice with me, I have found my lost sheep. So Jesus tells this story. He opens with this story. He says, guys, let me tell you a story. Let me tell you a story about a little baby sheep. Mary lost her little lamb, and the little lamb was white as snow. And he walked away one day. But he says that shepherd, whoever the guy was that was watching that sheep, he cared about that sheep. And so the next point on your outline, it says Jesus illustrates the love of God to reach out to those who are lost. Jesus illustrates the love of God to reach out to those who are lost. We're talking about reach. It seems appropriate that we would talk about Jesus talking about that. So I want you to think back a couple minutes ago to when you were lost. Think back, if you weren't lost, think back to my story. Think of the emotion I conveyed. Think of the fear I was feeling. Now imagine if you're a little sheep and you're lost in the desert. Bah. There's no Starbucks out here. Bah. So cold. I need to get in my Bentley or my BMW. Like the little sheep is just so bummed. He's little baby sheep. It's getting so sad. It's like a big cotton ball pork chop just being waiting to eat. Poor little sheep. Jesus is conveying this little sheep is just sad. And he's out there and he's lost.